Alright, I wanted to talk about troubleshooting your leveler if you're having any issues with it. One of the most critical aspects of these machines is your rails that your saw rides on. So it's very critical that these rails are parallel. So I just take a measurement side to side, both ends, and I make sure that these are parallel. I actually had to make an adjustment to this and got it back in line, but what my rail here, this one was out of whack. And the way I adjusted it is I got 3 bolts, 1, 2, and then the third one's over here. I loosened those up, and I was able to twist this a little bit so I could get it in line with this one. So what I did is I just shoved these together. You see these three bolts, 1, 2, 3. Those bolts were not touching. It was really just skewed badly like this. So I had to make an adjustment on this to bring it back in line. And then I had to make a small adjustment on this rail by loosening 2 bolts on either side of the handles on both sides so that I could get some play back and forth with this one so that I could get them parallel. So this unit does actually have a little bit left-right slop in it. So just be aware of that when you're making adjustments to these. Even with the most extreme movement, I could not get the rails parallel. So I had to loosen those bolts down there to get a little bit more slop in it. But I mean, this here probably needs to get replaced. All right, that's one critical aspect of the rail. Another is you need to take 4 measurements. So you got here to here, here to here. Those have to be the same. All right, and same thing over here with this rail. Here to here, here to here. These numbers have to be the same. So these 2 measurements need to match these 2 measurements. So that way we know our rails are in line with each other. Parallel, but also height-wise too. These rails sit on elongated rolls, or elongated bolts. So this is an old set I have. These holes are actually elongated. So what I do when I change these is I let them just sit on the bolts. And if they're both just sitting on them, you shouldn't have to play with them. They should be the same front and back. But there is slop in these holes for up-down adjustment, which I typically don't do. I just let them sit on the bolts. And that makes the measurement the same front to back. So that's one thing you got to be aware of. Another is your rolls. Your rolls have to be they have to be set, and there's instructions in your leveler manual on how to set your bottom roll height. But your bottom roll height has to be proper, because ideally you want your bottom rolls and your drive rolls to be pretty much in a plane. These are about 4 thousandths lower, but they need to be set evenly. So you can only make this adjustment with a bandsaw blade sitting on here. And the adjustment's really easy. And another critical thing with these rolls is they need to be over top of one another in a perfect plane. So I just take a straight edge, and we're just looking for some rocking, and we don't have any. I did make some adjustments to these, but these rolls need to be centered over top of each other. These bottom rolls do set in an eccentric, so you can twist them to raise them and lower them. And that's how you adjust those. There's your set screw to loosen that up. So what I did with these rolls to make adjusting them easier is I pulled the little ear out and I just welded a bolt to it, and that just makes it easier to get a really fine adjustment. It's just a little something I figured out. And then your pressure has to be even for this machine. So depending on what gauge saw you use, I got different plungers. So for me, because I use 15 gauge saws, the manual says you need a 5/8 gap, so just a piece of key stock. And again, this adjustment is made with a saw on the machine. So with a saw on the machine, I'm going to bring this down and check with this guy up, and check and see where that roll comes in contact with the saw in relation to my key stock. Okay, and if the pressure is incorrect and your roll height's incorrect, it's either going to overwork or underwork the steel, so you got to make sure that those are correct. You know, when everything is set up the way it should be, the machine does a really, really good job at getting saws flat. One little trick I did is I took a piece of old rail and I silver soldered it on here, and that gives me a lot more life on this particular part, on this leveler. Just a neat little trick I learned. If you guys have any questions or comments about the machine, let me know. Thank you.